What's up, guys? It is Will here, back again for another episode of Lights, Camera, Keco Collect, every Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, or Handsome Butters, as he's also known. And of course, we got Mr. The Ben Thomas Show. Ben, dude, you had quite the journey today. I don't know if you want to tell people what happened, but the fact that you are here on the show right now, dude, you're a consummate professional. You can overcome any adversity in life, bro. That's what I realized.
So here's the thing. I've been lucky enough to be invited on the show the last 2 weeks, and at the last minute I've had to bail both weeks in a row. So I said to Will this week, I was like, I will be there Friday. I don't care what happens. I will be there. This morning he messages me, I think at like 6:30 in the morning my time. He's like, "You still on?" I'm like, "Yep, everything's good." I send him my pictures, like I do a bunch of stuff. This afternoon, I'm driving around for work. My work car dies. Like black smoke out the hood, like dead. And it's 1:30. And I need to be on the show by 3:30. I'm like, and I live 45 minutes outside of town. And I'm thinking, okay, I need to wait for a tow truck. I'm going to need to wait for a ride from my fiance. Like, I don't think I'm going to make the show. I send Will a text. Don't know if I'm going to be there. Like, I might be late. I'm sorry. I even sent him a screenshot of my dial gauge just so he knew I wasn't faking it.
No, I wouldn't have thought that.
And I'm like, okay, I got to be there. I get the tow truck. Shauna comes, picks me up, my fiance. She gets me home. I literally walked in my door a minute ago. I ripped off my work shirt. I threw my Blockbuster shirt on, and I'm ready for the show. So I didn't miss it.
The question is, how is the car? Is it completely done for?
It is dead. It is dead as a door. But like
it was a work car though, Keco. So.
I was saying,
so it's not his.
It's not my car. It's a work car.
Who cares?
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
basically a loaner. You know, it's the work car. But the weird part is 4 months ago, I killed the last engine. This was a new engine they put in it, and it's only gone for 4 months, and now this one's dead. So I don't know if it's the car or if it's like my driving, but either way, I'm here. Thanks for having me, buddy. Good to see you again, Keco, as well.
Damn, that's some dedication. I was a little stressed because I was like, damn, I'm taking a little too long in the shower here. I don't know if I'm gonna make it on time. And you're sitting there like literally setting things on fire and smoking, coming in guns ablazing.
Yeah.
And he literally makes it to the show, Keco. That's professionalism, bro.
I know, and here I am coming in late again.
From getting in the shower. It's all good, dude.
To be fair, I was WebMDing, so you know how that goes.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, WebMD. That's a rabbit hole right there.
Yeah, the self-diagnosis. You know how that goes.
Yeah,
but it's not for me. It's for Amy. So.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm sure. Well, hopefully she's all right then. Hopefully she's all good. But anyway, Ben, thanks so much for joining, bro. Like I said, happy to have you, man. Appreciate you really going the extra mile this time. This is like probably the hardest that anyone's been, to get on the stream, basically. The farthest that they went to get on the stream.
Yes,
so
don't lend me your car though, for sure, as some guy would say in the chat there.
Yeah, I know, right? Because Ben's had 2 cars now go up in smoke.
Yeah, I will kill it.
So, well, good to have you, Ben. Thanks for joining, bro. And Mr. Keco, Mr. Handsome Butters, is that a diorama in front of you? The one of the Star Wars diorama?
This?
Yes.
No, it's the windscreen for my mic because
it looks like the what's it called, like in the starships and shit, like
the Death Star walls.
The Death Star walls, yeah, exactly, right.
I guess I could double this up for some toy photography at some point, but no, it's just because my mic is so ghetto and I don't have the sweet setup and that like extension arm that you have. This is all I got, man. This is the best we have to work with. And I'm trying to figure out the way to pose it because I hate that I'm in the corner and you can see my little room. It's not my room, but this little door that basically goes into my storage and all that. I don't like this aesthetic. I'm going to try to figure this out by the next time I'm on the show. Is hopefully I can figure out a better aesthetic to where I look a little more professional and where I don't have some bullshit Death Star walls, distracting you, Will. I want to give you something good.
You look pretty professional to me, bro. I mean, you got statues behind you. You got a fucking blue light. I mean, I
do have some lighting.
It looks pretty professional.
We'll try.
Yeah. I mean, in Tennessee, it looks pretty professional. So all the tornadoes you got to
I
experience.
was going to say, is that a shot at us Woodlands people here in Tennessee?
I'm a Woodland person. I live in Maryland, in the country. So it's not a shot.
I was going to say, we're very sophisticated over here.
You're
Rocky Top, baby.
Yeah, you're just as sophisticated as we are. So it's all good, bro. Trust me. But guys, thank you so much for joining another episode of Lights, Camera, Keco Collect. It's going to be a fun one. And we got a lot of great topics to talk about. We only got a couple pieces of news because there's really not that much news to talk about. A couple third-party things, some hot toys, things like that. Then we're going to talk about a lot of philosophy tonight because I hope you guys really like philosophy because we really like talking about it.
I know I do.
Yeah, see, I know. That's why Kiko's a regular on the show because he knows he loves talking about this. And, I think it's going to be fun just to kind of address some of the things that, that one of the reasons why we collect and what we do and sort of dissect a little bit. That said, Guys, let's address the chat real quick before we jump into our first topic. We got Mr. Mark Attack, a channel member. Thank you so much. WillFoxification. That's a new name for me. So I don't know if I've heard that one before. I go by many names. I'm like Daenerys at this point. Xander, LOL. What's up, Xander? I know it's the feed thing. Payton23, Mark Attack. I know he's laughing. Some guy. Shiny. What do you think Interart will show off next? I think they're going to show off probably the Harry Potter or that other figure they teased.
Inart Daenerys win.
Inart Daenerys win, dude. Inart Legolas win? Because I need Legolas, bro. And
Inart
I'm
Michael
with you,
Jackson win.
Yeah, I'm with you on Daenerys though. I'm gonna get Daenerys, no doubt. Jon Snow, I really want Jon Snow the most, probably, but
I saw that throne you got.
Yeah, I do, right? That Iron Throne Beast Kingdom, bro. It's a pretty dope piece, honestly. It's underrated. 12-inch Moose Dream. Good day, collector community. Good day. FBJ. Let's see here. Ash Chase. What is up, Ash Chase? What's cracking? Hope your ACL is doing well, bro. I know Ash tore his ACL recently, so hopefully he's doing better. Hopefully you're feeling better, Ash. I can't imagine that one. That sounds very painful. AJ Agarusa, channel member. What's up, AJ? Good to have you, bro. My fellow bald, bearded brethren. Good to have you, bro. Mark Mitchell. Good to have you. Let's see. Fourth, Mr. E. Good to have you, bro. Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Phil the Yoda, Chris Santos, Jose Hernandez, Thalia Meyer, my fellow Loki fan. Good to see you. Hello, everyone out there. Shiny. Let's see here. Commander Thorn. Good to see you. Joker J. Look who popped up in the notifications. Happy Friday, gentlemen. Sir Will, Sir Ben, and Sir Keco. That sounds like a law firm. That's what it sounds like to me. Comics, what's up, swag? MB listening on the way home from work. Oh, dude, well, thank you for letting us be part of your commute. Collector Joey, I know Joey's doing that because he always rides home from work and listens and posts stories, and I love seeing it. Joey's awesome, by the way. Check out his channel, posting awesome content. I saw he was doing live streams talking about the Hot Toys subreddit. I thought it was a pretty unique idea. Joey's awesome. So
that Hot Toys subreddit's a toxic cesspool. I'll say that.
Kiko, do you go in there often? Because I do
every day, bro.
I do too.
That's
but
like
I don't
part
comment.
of my morning ritual. I used to comment a long time ago. Like if you look on the thing, like one of my photos is the avatar of the thing. You know, that little 30-second trooper that they did the photo contest. So I've won 2 photo contests, and then I was like, okay, I'm not competing anymore. And so then I just kind of look and lurk, and then just like watch the trolls and such, and then troll myself a little bit. So
yeah, I just lurk and I lurk in the chat, but
I don't think I've ever gone in it. I don't know.
It's pretty cool.
Is it something I should stay away from?
No, it's actually very informative.
Okay.
But there are some bitchy people, as you'll find everywhere.
Fair.
Yeah, and
that's everywhere.
That's the way she goes. Yeah, fair enough.
Right, that's
it's better than Facebook groups. I can tell you that sometimes.
not
as good as a place for collecting. There you go. Yeah,
there we go. Kiko, yeah, sorry, I had to jump in on that one. I was like, not that one. Yo, what's up, bro? What's up? About Future, Joker J. Haven't been on time in 30 years. Thank God. I got an amazing / deplorable personality. Well, hey, Ben made it on time. Ben can do it with a literally smoking car than anyone can do it. So, Cobb Vanth, I didn't know that. I had a low stock morning and a blue screen earlier today. Interesting because, yeah, Kiko, and you know what's really interesting about that is that no one really wanted him because he was $300. And everyone was like, oh my God, the price. And he didn't really come with much. And then now they're like, I guess no one's buying him. I don't know. Ben Thomas in the chat. Good to see you. Ben in the chat and on the panel. Mark, Will's exposing himself as a non-collector who doesn't know Star Wars stuff. Yeah, pretty much, Mark. Pretty much, bro. Yeah, it's been a long work day. That's why. DT Artman, Pedro Lopez, 166, the man himself. Ben Thomas fan club in the house. Absolutely, Marco. Good to have you, bro. Mark said, in art Legolas win. Absolutely, bro. That's how I feel as well. Calvin, what's up, bro? The drawer dropper. That's Calvin right there. That's what he does. He hates when we say that. But Kiko, I'll have to fill you in on that in a little inside joke. Supposedly people drop their drawers when they go to Calvin's house. Not sure why exactly.
It's because of his impressive collection. You can't not. You're like, okay,
that's what they do, though.
Oh, they're sliding out.
Yes, might as well just drop them. Here we are. So, Majid Faraj, good to see you, Majid. Glad to be here again. Good to see you. Mr. Musashi, late bloomer. I can never pronounce your name, bro, but I'm going to get it one day. Jonathan King in the house. Jose Hernandez just got the King Shark figure. It's pretty badass. Kiko and I were talking about that. We were like, if that thing goes on sale, then we're going to consider it.
It's in my crosshairs for sure.
Yeah, see? Cobb Vance's blue screen now. It's back up. Okay. Renz Talentino. Well, good to see you, Mr. Artist himself. Renz, guys, let's talk about some news here because we don't have a lot of news to talk about, but there's a few things. I want to talk about these Ant-Man and Wasp figures, and I'll kind of show them, one by one if need be. I'll start with Mr. Ant-Man because he's the main character, if you will, although Wasp is in the title. She's a title character too. That said, Ant-Man's really, I guess, I would think more of the draw here. But that said, are these the definitive versions of Ant-Man and Wasp? And I want to ask this question, and I'm going to start actually with Keco before I get to Ben, because I feel like Keco might have a spicy take on this one, and I kind of want to get it out there in the universe.
I like to follow the spice.
Yeah, exactly. Let the spicy take marinate a little bit. Keco, I want to ask these the definitive versions of Wasp and Ant-Man, because this is the second Wasp figure that we've gotten. I think it's the fourth Ant-Man figure that we've gotten. So at what point do we have enough of those characters? Or maybe this is the definitive version. What do you think, Keco? Where are you at?
There is no such thing as a definitive character.
See, I knew it.
There is no such thing as a definitive character. Remember when they said in-game Cap was going to be the definitive Captain America?
Yep.
And then a year later, the stealth suit Cap magically is the definitive Captain America because of the traps. That's a reissue. How can it possibly be the definitive Captain America? So all that to say, yes, this is our fourth Ant-Man figure. The thing about the Ant-Man figures is that they stay extremely consistent. There hasn't been much iterations in the suit. A little bit, upgrades, if you want to call it that, for some nanotech and stuff. It's not the actual collapsible helmet anymore. It's the whatever you want to call that. Right. So these look good. I think the Wasp is a much better improvement. She was gold and blue in the last one, and this one is more like black and yellow, which looked really cool. But no, these aren't the definitive versions because this isn't the end of the MCU by any means, and they will continue to milk this. And as soon as, the Civil War 10-year anniversary comes out, they'll re-release Ant-Man, and that'll be the definitive version again. So if you're looking for the definitive version and say, I'm just going to wait for this one, waiting for the inevitable this one, you'll always be chasing. You cannot win this game. There's nothing to win. So if you like this figure, if you're missing this figure, definitely consider getting it because you're probably going to get some better, I guess, what's what I'm looking for? The stuff that makes up the actual figure, the materials. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. The materials are probably going to be better. The technology is going to be a little bit better. And the standout, although not officially released, but teased, is Cassie Lang. That's the one I really want because I didn't realize she doesn't have boots. She's got Converse on. She's got tennis shoes on with her suit. And I think that's the coolest thing ever. To start the Young Avengers and all that stuff. And you get these little dioramas or whatever. And I know the big talking point is the Scott Lang head. And I love how they said they literally pulled this off the Civil War one. I think that's the one it was because they're still working on it. And this is not it. And this is the first time I think they've put up the thing right when they announced it saying, this is a prototype. This is pending licensure approval. This is what you're getting type of thing. And so I'm interested to see what it's going to look like because if they nailed that Evangeline Lilly like that, I think they're going to nail this one too. So just give it some time to work it out, get them nice Baskin Robbins licensures situated, and then we'll get a nice Paul Rudd. But are these the definitive versions? No, we know that. So if you want one, get one.
Keco, what do you say to the people then that are going to wait on Kang for the Avengers Kang?
Then you're going to be, once again, filling a pre-order spot on your wall, and you're not going to have something. You're always going to have a reason to say, I'm just going to wait for this next one. So here's my thing. I think people are not willing to commit to getting one of these figures because they don't really want them. So the thing is, it's like, they'd be a nice to have, but they don't really want them. Because if you want the figure, you're going to get the figure. You're not going to wait for the definitive that may or may not come. So if you're going to wait for the definitive Kang 10 years from now, you don't really want Kang. So that's my thing. And they're like, well, you have to wait because, they're too expensive to just get a figure that's so. Okay, well, yeah, I'll talk to you in 6 years then when you don't have Kang still. So we'll see. We'll see. If you really like the character, you will have that character represented in your collection, in my opinion.
See, Ben, I told you. The spice. Keco would drop the spice first, then you get to, marinate and spice.
Followed up, marinate the spice, sugar, followed up with some sugar. I don't know.
Exactly, bro. You gotta douse the flames a little bit here. So, but what do you think, Ben? Are these the definitive versions? I mean, I know the movie hasn't come out yet, but if the movie's pretty good, could they be the definitive versions? Maybe like Keco, maybe didn't reference like maybe one of the characters or both of them die, right? Maybe one of them die. That would be a crazy ending, a good way to introduce Kang. What do you think, Ben?
I mean, like, I hope none of them die because I like both characters and I like both actors and actresses. I think, so I understand your question. Are these the definitive options? For me, when I think about my own collection, I'm not necessarily thinking about everybody else's collection. I have 42 figures now, so not a ton. I'm not a completionist collector by any stretch. For me, if I'm going to have a representation of a character in my collection, I'm going to try and narrow it down to one. And it's going to be the film or the franchise that resonates with me most with that specific character. I liked the first Ant-Man film. I was kind of lukewarm on the second, the Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm hoping I really like this one because I'm definitely anticipating it. The trailers have been looking pretty badass. Like I'm very excited. This may be the definitive Ant-Man for me, because if I like this film the most, I don't have him in my collection yet, it might be the one that I would lean to. I think for collectors who are completionist collectors who need to have them all, I know that this has the closest representation kind of to the comic book origins. So for me, in that sense, it's exciting. I do think that the head sculpt, even though I don't think it's perfect, still looks a lot like Paul Rudd. I definitely see the Paul Rudd in there, and if it's a work in progress, I think it will end up being the best sculpt. So I'm anticipating this will be my favorite Ant-Man film. I'm anticipating that the sculpt will probably be the best of the ones that we've had so far. And like you guys said, the technology has improved, the bodies have improved, so it'll likely be the most posable and easiest to work with in terms of a figure in your collection. So in that sense, yes, I think this will be the definitive version of Ant-Man. But I agree with Keco, there's always a good chance we're going to see a 2.0 in 10 years that's even improved. These are not limited, they're not numbered. So I think...
And aren't Ant-Man win?
Right? Feel like this is your definitive version if this movie really resonates with you. And you're like, you walk into your collection room and every time you look at it, you're like, that's the movie of the year for me. That was the one that I just absolutely loved. Kang is another good example of that. You can definitely wait for another Kang. I agree with Keco on that. But I think he's going to be a badass. And I would have still liked to have the very first Thanos that came out, even though that didn't end up looking anything like the final Thanos that we had. It would have been cool to see that evolution. So having that evolution of Kang might also be really, really cool displayed. Right. So we'll see how it goes.
I love what Fourth Mystery says is that you can't find the Ant-Man and Wasp from the second movie under retail anymore. Huh. Funny that no one wanted those fuckers like a year ago, right? I mean, you couldn't give those bitches away. And now they're like, hey, in search of Ant-Man and the Wasp. I was like, bitch, you didn't want those a year ago. Now, why do you want them all of a sudden?
Because the movie's hot right now.
I know. So I'm thankful that when Carlos got rid of his, I got mine from Carlos. And
did you?
Not Carlos. I'm sorry. Dante.
Oh, Dante.
Yeah.
Okay.
When he was getting rid of some, I was like, I don't have Ant-Man and the Wasp. He gave me a good deal on them. I'm like, cool. Now I have them. But I got them under retail because I got them when it mattered. And now everybody's chasing again. So.
For sure.
I had them, Ben. I had the original Ant-Man at one point, and I had the Wasp, obviously. And I really liked them both. But when I was trimming and curating the collection, I was like, yeah these fuckers got to go. Because I really liked them, but they just weren't in my top 40, 50, whatever characters. I was like, they just got to go for me. As far as definitive versions, I really like what you guys are saying here. It's interesting because if you're going to play that game, which I tend to play that game, it is a gamble because sometimes it really works out. Like you mentioned, Ben, the Thanos, the Guardians of the Galaxy Thanos. That one was pretty cool. It came with a throne, but by all intents and purposes, that's everyone's probably least favorite Thanos, right? So if you had gotten that one, you'd probably be not as happy when you saw Infinity War and then Endgame and then Battle Damage Endgame and all these, in my opinion, superior figures. Sometimes, though, it works out in the opposite direction, where, like, for example, Avengers Loki for the longest time. That was the iconic version of Loki, and if you passed on him and said, oh, I'll wait for Thor 2, it wasn't as good, or the next Loki, Ragnarok, and that wasn't as good either, and then it was just Loki 1. Honestly, I think that's what's happening with the first Ant-Man. I think the first Ant-Man is the best Ant-Man, in my opinion.
I agree.
But they're all good. They're all good. But you're right, Keco. They're really not that different. They're all pretty similar. I don't think Ant-Man's on Iron Man's level to where you would need 3 Ant-Mans. Or like they're so minorly different that it's not like Iron Man where, oh, he has a slightly different arm or whatever, but it's Iron Man, so I'll get multiples. Like even Captain America is a good example. Like if people waited and got Endgame, for the most part, like besides what Keco said, the stealth suit, that Captain America Endgame is considered the definitive by most people, where most people were like, oh, wait for Civil War. And then Endgame pops up and you're like, oh, I'm glad I waited for that one. So even
like you were saying, we were talking backstage about Chrome Mando versus the Beskar Mando, because I still have Beskar Mando in my collection, and I knew that there'd be more Mandalorians, obviously. Like, the show is still going on. We're going to get season 3 soon. He's probably going to have, like, a blue stripe on his armor or something. Right. Like, they're going to change it up. But I got the Beskar Mando when I did because I thought at the time that would be the definitive, like, original Beskar look. And that then, if I wanted another Mando down the line, it would probably be because he had, a relatively significant costume change. And then they released the Chrome Mando like months later, right? And it was like, ooh, that actually stung. And I would hate to see this, right? Everybody's like, this is the definitive Ant-Man, and then the movie releases, and this is actually maybe just the first suit in the film or something. Like maybe there's another version even in the movie.
Yeah.
See?
Switcheroo, right? Like it's hard to say. And because we haven't seen the film yet, we're not even 100% sure this is accurate to the movie, similar to the gold and black Spider-Man that we got from No Way Home. Like, that wasn't even close to what we were supposed to
No,
get.
not at all.
One thing I will say, though, to Hot Toys' credit on this, I do appreciate the fact that if we go in and see this movie and absolutely love it, you can hit the pre-order button for something to know that you're going to have something in your collection. I like that they've timed it that way, at least. I know you're not going to be able to get it in your collection, but at least you can feel like you bought something from the film if it really connects with you. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Which is why I think, Ben, they had the idea of like, hey, the head sculpt is not done, but let's get the PO out there anyway. Let's get it up for people and say, okay, we're working on it so people can get their orders in if they're excited about the film. We can capitalize on that hype instead of like what they've been doing. Like before, what they were doing is like putting this up for pre-order like 6 months from now. Like when the movie comes out next week, and then the hype's already died down by that point. So it's like, well,
I've been waiting for Namor. Like I just rewatched Black Panther on Disney Plus again the other day, and I'm like, why the heck haven't we got this figure yet? Like, where is it?
I think within Ben, I'm willing to give them a pass because I think the issue is they got to figure out the body. I think I think that's why.
Agreed.
So but that's a hard figure to make. I'm thinking they're going to make it though. I think they're going to make it. I think they're going to take a crack at it. What do you think, Keco?
I do. I too watched it this weekend or this week, whenever it was. I rewatched it again, and I just once again thought how good that character was and the design, because it's one thing about Phase 4, for all the silly stuff they've had, they've really nailed the comic book adaptions to their suits and the looks, which has been fantastic. But yeah, man, I think we have a good idea that we could be getting something simply because of the full silicon Wonder Woman 84. They switched that body up. So they know they're going to try doing that. I guess that would be the first male full silicon body.
Well, I guess Bane, right? Is Bane full?
You're right. But that's got a shirt on. Right. Well, no, I guess you can take the shirt off, can't you? Well, I'm not 100%
I don't know.
But either way, the bodies are getting made, and so they are doing something. So I definitely could see that. I think you could see some maybe a Okoye as a Midnight Angel, perhaps. I think that just looks too cool to not make. Cool. So we'll see. But yeah, I have a confidence that unless there's a licensing issue, that Namor would be worth getting there.
Two quick side notes. Have you noticed that Marco from 16Fix looks a little bit like Namor?
He does, bro.
A little bit. We saw some Photoshop images of his face on the body, and I can see it.
Marco just needs a big headdress,
and some big earrings.
Exactly.
And secondly,
the septum and the
nose.
That's right.
Thing.
And secondly, I used to have a huge crush, don't tell Shauna this, on Evangeline Lilly from the Lost days. So, and I don't have her in my collection yet, and she looks beautiful as a figure format in this one as well. So I'm like, well, that sways me as the definitive version of maybe even her character.
I will say her head sculpt from the first Ant-Man and the Wasp is the best Evangeline Lilly head sculpt.
You still feel like you like that one more, right?
I do,
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, granted,
I haven't seen it in hand. So
granted, she's a little older here. I mean, naturally she's aged or whatever, but I think the likeness is a little bit stronger. Maybe it is because of the hair, and we're just not used to seeing that right now.
Right.
I like it.
Because I think the sculpt is really good. But the first sculpt, you're right, Keco, was very good. It was a very strong sculpt. And I think this one is maybe just the hair is causing the problem. But it's still good. Ben said I thought I was going to say you had a crush on Namor.
Why do you think I like you so much, Marco? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you guys are friends. But
that's right.
Great thoughts on that one, guys. I want to address a couple of super chats we got real quick. That guy, Mark, thanks so much, bro. Very generous of you. I'm just waiting on 1/4 scale Ant-Man. This might be the last chance to get one. Dude, that is thrown around a lot. Like every live stream we talk about, and if any way quarter scale comes up, everyone's like quarter scale Ant-Man because that would look great next to 6 scale Ant-Man because you could show him kind of like growing into big giant man. Exactly. So
cool.
Hot Toys, honestly, to be honest, guys, I'm not sure why Hot Toys makes quarter scale at all because I just don't feel like they sell anymore. Like you look, they're always discounted. They're always like, even the Mandalorian is like
2 I have. I wish I didn't have. I've told you that.
Exactly. I mean, I just think it's, to me, everyone differs. If you're going to go bigger than quarter scale and up, I think it should be a statue. That's just my opinion. That's just what I think is best. I've had a quarter scale figure. I had the Joker and I liked it. But then when I got quarter scale statue, I was like, yeah, it's just a weird size for a figure. You know what I mean? So, but for Ant-Man, it would make sense. You guys probably wouldn't get it though, right? I know I wouldn't.
Quarter scale,
no. I as I said, I will not be outside of like a Dark Side Anakin. I probably won't be at another quarter scale to the collection.
Dude, a Dark Side Anakin.
I've never had a quarter scale. I've never felt one in hand.
I mean, they're cool in hand. I mean, I got Vader and I got the Mandalorian, and they're cool, but they almost feel too big and bulky because it's an articulated thing that's almost too big to articulate. It feels like you're playing with a Cabbage Patch doll sometimes because it's like the appendages are so big and they're all ratcheted. So it's, it's a strange way to pose things. So I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
Well, thank you, Mark. We appreciate that, bro. Very appreciated. We got Mark51's Collectibles, new channel member. Thank you so much, Mark51's Collectibles. Appreciate you, bro. That's very generous of you. So thank you so much. Guys, that said, we got another piece of news to tackle here. Present Toys Rick Grimes. I want to ask you guys about this because I think we've all three seen The Walking Dead, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
As I've said, I think it's the most overrated zombie thing out there.
Did you say? I don't remember you saying that, Keco. Honestly.
I think it's when I went on my rant earlier. But
okay, gotcha. Okay, well, we got the figure is called 1/6 scale Zombie Killer. So this is actually on 1/6 kit. So I pulled this up earlier and I saw that you can actually get this figure for $197 shipped. It's by Present Toys. They've done other figures. Indiana Jones was probably the most popular one, at least that I've seen. There is a Rick Grimes that exists now, but it's not this one. This Rick Grimes is actually from one of the later seasons, maybe like season 5, 6, 7, something like that. They have a 3-0 one that's from season 1, and they have other ones that they made from other seasons, but they're a little bit older. So 3-0 hasn't tackled this one again anytime soon. But you can see here, seamless forearms. That seems pretty cool, right? So you got some nice little things here. But that said, I'm not crazy about the head sculpt. I'm glad that it has rooted hair for people who do want that. I think there's maybe something going on with the paint apps. It's not exactly making me feel great about it. But Keco, I know you think Walking Dead is overrated, but if you were a Walking Dead fan, do you feel this is good enough to grab, or you're holding out for something better?
At this point, from an unlicensed company, I don't know what you'd be waiting for better. I mean, 3-0 is certainly not going to deliver anything quite like that. They're still struggling with the Game of Thrones things. With that being said, the hair doesn't bother me. The beard bothers me. And the eyebrows are a little bit too pronounced. I feel like I'm those people that are on all the on the subreddits and on Facebook complaining from the smallest nuances. But to me, probably, if you dig The Walking Dead, I mean, this is a pretty good representation. I don't got any issue with. I don't know what you're going to be waiting on that's better. You're not going to be getting anything that's better. And if you don't like it, sell it. I mean, it's like, oh, I can't take a risk. Well, then you don't want it in the first place. So that's the whole thing about collecting. It's like risk reward. It's like, do you want a representation of your character or not? Well, take a chance. Well, if you don't like it, then sell it. Well, I don't want to take a loss. Well, it wasn't worth the risk then for you. You don't really care about the character. So you care more about the money than the character. And so, well, you got to be smart. I don't know. I can go on a rant all day for this, but either way, is it good enough? Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And see, Kiko's interesting. I'm going to say no because because Riley's in the chat. And I want to highlight his comment real quick. Riley, channel member. Thank you so much, Riley. Guys, check out Riley Reviews channel. He said, I think the sculpt is 6 or 7. In art, Rick Grimes win. So, that to me, look, in art cannot be the savior for everything. So that's kind of how we're using them right now, though, because we know Hot Toys is probably never going to touch something like this. That's why we say in art, because we're like, can in art make something Walking Dead related and of course make it good? I think they could. Just a matter of will they. And 3-0 seems to have that license on lock right now. So I don't even know if anyone else would get the 1/6 scale license. But when I look at this head sculpt, it's funny, I see Andrew Lincoln in there, but then I look at angles, I'm like, it's not Keco, here's the one thing I would say. I don't personally.
The head looks a little small there, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. The one thing I would say, Keco, I don't like mediocrity in my collection because I feel like it brings down everything I have.
You're right, and it's funny you say that because I literally on my little workstation over there, I have the Susu Toys Green Menace just sitting there. Because I took him out of the display because I feel that it's not up to standard. Because I had it in my Spider-Man display, and it's great. It's a good comic representation. But ever since that, some of the other things came out, I'm like, this is mediocre compared to it. And I moved it out. That's a great point you made there.
Yeah. And see, that's my thing, Keco. As much as I really love The Walking Dead and it would be a great character, to me, if you don't care about the quality of the figure as much, it's just because the character is so good that you have to have it. You just have to have a Rick Grimes, and this is your best chance at it. Short of that, though, I feel like it kind of devalues or brings down the other figures in your collection almost. It's a weird thing. But Ben, what do you think? I mean, are you a Walking Dead fan? And if so, do you think this is good enough for people, or should they wait?
Yeah, so I was a Walking Dead fan up to about season 5, and then it started to lose me. It was just getting so depressing to watch episode after episode. And fair enough. I mean, it's the end of the world, right? It is what it is. But I I think if they'd caught me at the height of its popularity between season 1 and 5, I would have been like, yeah, like I would take a Rick Grimes at this point. I think this, I kind of laughed out loud when I saw the picture today because I was prepping for the show. And I laughed because the face reminds me of the meme when Carl's mom gets eaten, like when she's pregnant, and he's like outside and he's crying and he's like, Carl, that's kind of what it reminds me. He looks like he's got the crying eyes thing going on, which takes away my excitement for the sculpt for sure. I think it's cool that he's got like what looks like rooted hair. I think that's impressive for the price. I also will always have to see it with my Canadian lens on of every time I buy something at $197, I pay the shipping, I pay the customs, and suddenly this is like a $325 figure. And like, do I love it that much to bring into the collection? No, not right now, especially with all of the other things that are releasing. Like the 1/6 scale market in the last couple of years, as you guys know, has just like exploded. Like I'm already having a hard time keeping up with the things that I'm like desperate to have in my collection, let alone the things that I'm like so on. So I do think it looks like Andrew Lincoln, like you said, Will. I think that's a fair assessment. I can see him in there, but I don't even know if I would hold out for higher quality, because I feel like for me the time is past a little bit. I'm ready for like the Last of Us figures and like and other shows that just resonate with me more like now for my collection. And I don't think I would collect backwards to this time. So no,
not trying to shit all over it again, but doesn't it look like a PS3 render? Don't you know what I'm saying? It looks like a PS3 render.
Yeah,
it does a little bit.
Like the clothes is so odd to me, because if you think about like the tailoring that goes into it, one of the things I pride Hot Toys on is their tailoring, and they make the, I guess, threads or whatever in a shirt look miniature. Imagine this blown up to, you'd have threads that are this big on like stitchings on your real shirt if that was used. So,
although one thing I will
there's
add,
some innovation here.
Sorry to cut you off, Keco. Apologies. One thing I will add, I do sometimes try and look at some of these figures, especially when they have questionable likeness for 6 scale collectors, as like, if I had friends over or family over, if they looked at the figure, would they at least know who it is? And like, I know if like I sent this photo to my mom who loves Walking Dead, she'd be like, that's really cool. Similar with the So-So Toys Scarlet Speedster I had for a while. To me, that looked like the Flash in my collection. I was happy with it, even though the sculpt on it was relatively soft. So I think it's like, for 1/6 scale collectors, it's easy to have that lens of like, this isn't good enough, which is fair. But for the people who are interested in buying this, I do still think if you put that on your shelf, people will look at it, and hopefully yourself, and be like, that's Rick Grimes, I see it. So you can still be excited about it, even though we're kind of like Keco said, like shitting on it a little bit.
Right.
There's still some potential here. It's not terrible. I've seen worse figures. 100%.
And it's got the rooted hair and everything. But I mean, honestly, if you were going to pick up one, I think 3-0 did better, honestly.
I liked the 3-0 for sure.
And that's a little bit soft too. But I've seen Optical's video and other people to review it, and they've said it's really good in hand. So, I think it's pretty good. It just depends if you like the sheriff outfit or not. But to me, guys, I tend to be sometimes opposite with Keco and some of these things. Like, I would hold out. I would hold out, like, because again, maybe the character's not that important to you. But if that's the case, then I would hold out for the best. And then if he is, then you'll find out, right? And that's why I think the tiers are so important that I always promote with Carlos. I think those are really important. For me, I'm gonna hold out because I do want a Rick Grimes, but I feel like this one doesn't quite meet it, and I feel like it's not gonna make the cut quality wise for what I'm looking for. And same happened with the 3-0, honestly. Like 3-0, like you said, Keco, their 3-0 is great with everything except head sculpts. Head sculpts sometimes, some head sculpts are really good, and some are like, it's not quite there. Transformers, amazing. Yep. Tailoring, amazing. Like everything else, accessories, great. But it's just those head sculpts. That's where if they could fix that, they'd be a powerhouse. Like if they could fix head sculpts and get to a pretty good
because the price point is such a good selling point, 430. But and it's so odd that I don't know if there's just not consistency with who is doing their sculpts, but you look at going back to the Game of Thrones figures, you look at the Tormund, and then you look at the Jon Snow and the Daenerys. You're like, who is that? And then you look at the Ser Jorah, and you're like, this is awesome. And then you look at like the Night King, incredible. But then you look at like Sansa, you're like, who is that? It's really interesting.
And Jaime was good too. I really like
Jaime's not bad, but then the Cersei is good God.
Yeah, the Cersei is. And Tyrion was pretty good from whatever.
Yeah, Tyrion's especially good with the hair and the beard.
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys, thank you so much for your thoughts on that one. Now we got to move on to something, and I want to ask a question here because there was a video posted recently talking about hot toys and whether they're good or not, and statues and whether they're good or not. So it was really interesting. I really liked watching it, but it kind of had me thinking: do 1/6 figures lack presence? And the way I kind of want to approach this question is: if you didn't have a lot of 1/6 figures to display with, say you maybe had 3, 4, if you have a small collection, do they lack the presence necessary to really make you feel excited or to even, God forbid, impress other people who are coming in your house to see your collection? And I want to share something. And this would be an example of kind of what I'm talking about. When you do have a larger collection, that it can have a lot of presence to it. And these figures do have that. But if you had a smaller collection, do they lack that because of their size? Like, what was Yoda's quote like about judging by size, something like that?
Judging by my size, do you?
Yeah. See, there you go, Keco. So I know my Star Wars fan card's going to get revoked, but it's fine. At least I knew the general
Death Star Walls.
I knew the general idea of the quote, so it's fine, bro. But yeah, Keco, I want to start with you. Do 1/6 figures lack the presence necessary to be good in their own right? Do they need those companion pieces? What do you think?
Companion pieces do a lot for certain figures, but it's also going to come down to which figure you're talking about, I suppose. If you talk about a Thanos, yeah, it's got the presence. If you talk about, Chrome Mandalorian, yes, it's got the presence. If you're talking about Remnant Trooper, no, not really. Are you talking about Lando? No, probably not. I'm just looking at the people just like right in front of me that I'm looking at here. It definitely comes down to who the character is. Darth Vader will command a shelf presence because its silhouette is so iconic. And the character silhouette, I think, means a lot. And I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later on, but if it's posed weird, it's not going to take any, presence at all. It's going to actually distract and be like, what is this thing in your display? But it definitely is going to come down to who the character is and if it's big enough. I think the bigger characters naturally have a great shelf presence, but then some of them don't. Like, I love some of the troopers, but if you just have too many of them or just one sitting there, I don't think it really does that much. I mean, if you're looking right in the middle of that screen, there's that Coruscant guard. If he was sitting there by himself, or just even like the 501st Trooper, yeah, they're cool figures, but they don't have a presence. You need something with like a weapon or a lightsaber, something that brings the presence. So it definitely character specific, but I don't think they lack presence. But, Cole Obsidian's going to be a lot cooler than Gamora, but that's my opinion.
Right. That makes sense. Well, Ben, I have the same question for you, and I'm looking up right now because a stink bug has landed directly on my light over there. I don't know if you guys have those.
I kept wondering, like, what in the world you kept looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It landed on my light, and it's right above my head, and I could look. It's just looking at me. So I'm gonna kill that thing. But basically, before I do that, I'm gonna have Ben answer this question. So Ben, when I disappear, don't panic. I'm just gonna mute myself and turn off my camera.
Make sure you mute yourself, because if it lands on you and you scream, like, we don't want that live.
Everyone's gonna know. I know everyone's gonna know that I'm the biggest bitch in streaming, so it's totally fine. But Ben, same question: do 1/6 figures lack presence, or do they have what's necessary if you have a smaller collection to kind of make an impact? What do you think?
It's a hard question to answer, because I think it depends, like, if it lacks presence to you or to like the people around you. So like Shauna, my fiance, she supports me in figure collecting, but she will walk right past my whole display and not even look at it. Like, to her, it doesn't matter how cool the figure is, what it comes with, how it's silhouette. It does not matter. She just doesn't matter to her. To her, it lacks presence. I could have no figures or all the figures, and it wouldn't make a difference. For me, who's a figure collector but also a huge like nostalgia buff, everything that I try and put in my collection means something to me. Even a singular stormtrooper, Keco, I'll argue, I only have one white trooper from the Return of the Jedi, and I've got him posed up with his gun, and every time I walk past my collection, despite some of the other really great figures I have, that one still catches my eye, because for me, when I think Star Wars, I think about the Stormtroopers, and I think about Darth Vader, and I think about Luke Skywalker, farm boy Luke holding his lightsaber and stuff. So I don't think that they lack presence. I think it just depends on who's looking at your collection with you. I will say that I don't think lack presence is the right way to say it, but I think if you have a statue, like a room full of statues, somebody who doesn't necessarily collect or care might still be like, wow, like, statues, not necessarily that the size matters, but like there are some pretty impressive statues that will grab your attention whether or not you like the presence or not. Whereas you might walk past a 1/6 scale Dark Knight and not care.
There's something to be said about the statues, and we've talked about that multiple times. My buddy Anthony was over here just this week, and he's like, "Hey, you got anything new upstairs?" Like, "Yeah, come on up here." And he immediately just walked over. I was like, "Hey, do you want to see this?" He's like, "Oh, I just want to see your statues again," because they do command the presence, and I don't think there's any debate about that.
For sure. Yeah. But you also have to have it planned. You also have to have a way to display it that can highlight it, right? I mean, if you put a statue necessarily in a corner that nobody can see, people might still walk past it. So I think it has to have presence for you in your collection. If you walk past and don't ever look at that figure, you should sell it and move it on to something that will capitalize that space in your collection that you like even more. And that's what I've been doing recently. I've been moving figures along for figures that I want more, and I'm enjoying my collection even more. Now I'm looking at spaces in my different cubes out here and in the other room that I was ignoring before because I just didn't. Those figures to me were lacking the presence at that point. I just bought them because I thought they were cool at some point. So, and then of course scale. I know like you're going to ask a little about scale. Now this is an older collection tour, so anybody watching, my collection has upgraded quite a bit since then. I got to do a new collection tour clearly, but I've got different scales in my collection, and I try and combine them a little bit. You can't. Like that Mondo Toys now is making like the Batman and the Joker and some of those Batman the Animated Series figures, which I absolutely love. And I fit them in with my 6-scale collection because to me they have presence despite their size. They stand out. It's nostalgic all over it. So
yeah,
that's a great Deadpool pose.
It is. It is a great
especially
Deadpool.
With the different eyes that you have on there. I love that. That's perfect.
Yeah,
well done.
That's dope. Guys, I'm not sure if I got the bug. So I, you know what I tried to do? I do this sometimes when I don't have to, because it's on like a little softbox. So if I try to hit it, it's just going to crash the whole thing. So I took the vacuum and tried to suck it up, but it didn't work. So
oh my God,
he got away.
You should have kept the camera on. That might have actually been an
actually would have been
entertaining
a good clip. Yeah, I should have kept that on. But you wouldn't have been able to focus at all, Ben. You would have been like watching me the whole time.
Man, so I ran out and got. I can talk no matter the vacuum. Don't worry about it.
I ran out and got the vacuum, tried to suck it up, and the thing just started running away. So I don't know where it went. It's still around somewhere. But I'm sure what you said, Ben, was very profound and insightful as always.
I hope so.
Yeah, it was great. So, but this looks great, bro. And 1/6 figures. No, I don't feel they lack presence. I just feel like it, you got to have some. If you have like maybe 5 to 10 at minimum, I think that really helps out a lot. Like one figure by itself, unless you have it next to like a life-size prop or something else, it can be harder in isolation to feel that presence. But when you have a bunch of them, they have a lot of presence together. You don't even need like, I know Keco has like 300. You don't even need that many per se. You just need, at least a little bit, like 5 to 10 or more. And then I think you'll have a lot of
Someone mentioned in the comments about how much lighting does. I mean, you just look at Ben's stuff right there. I mean, just the lighting and the silhouette does so much for it. Because yes, if you look at any of those, 100%, that's a presence right there because the silhouette really says it. And if the lighting, the display, the posing, if you are intentional about how you display them, don't just set it on your computer desk and walk away, in the museum pose, then yeah, I definitely think they can be presence striking things.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, let us know in the chat, guys. I keep forgetting to post the polls, but I'm going to post another poll in the next one, I promise. And yeah, thank you so much for your thoughts on that one. And hopefully this bug doesn't kill me in the meantime. That said, the secret to posing, I want to ask you guys this very important question. This is going to be crucial. And I want to bring up one real quick because I know that Ben is going to be super excited about this. This is his favorite figure to pose, apparently. That's what he told me. Because this is Throbbing,
what part is he posing?
Yeah, I know, right? I know. He's already posing technically, even out of the box. Yeah. So, but I'm going to ask you guys, what is the secret to posing? Because I think a lot of people really, I know there's a lot of people who are looking for videos that say, how 5 best poses for this character, or how can I pose more effectively? Because it's difficult. It's really not easy. It takes a lot of time to get better at it. With me, I'm still trying to get better at it. So now that I do reviews, when I do them, I'm like, man, I got to pose this figure. It's going to take time. Because usually I put the guy in like one pose, something I'm comfortable with that I like, and I move on for a bit. I don't really engage as much with posing, but I want to ask you guys, what's the secret to posing? And Ben, I'll start with you actually first on this one. What is your secret to posing? I mean, I know you did a lot here with the cape and with just getting him in a sort of museum character-like pose, but what do you do that makes you happy with your pose?
For sure. Well, I mean, this was super basic. Like, this was fresh out of the box. I literally just tilted the head, put a different hand on it, and was tweaking it. And, like, I mean, you obviously got a still from the video. I think the secret to posing is taking your time. Don't rush it. Enjoy the process, because it can be a little stressful sometimes testing the limitations of your figures. Knowing what the limitations of the figure is before you buy it helps. So like you said, if there's a video out there on posing, watch it, right? Get a feel for it. But I also think it's subtlety. There are figures like that Robin that really can't pose at all. I thought people were exaggerating when they said that the Val Kilmer Batman and Throbbing couldn't pose, and I was like, okay, like they can probably pose. Maybe you just don't want to push the limits all that hard. And like I got the Batman yesterday, and it was actually the Batman that I was suggesting was my most frustrating experience, Will, because it can't you can't turn the head, you can't really bend the arms, you can't twist the feet, like you can't make him even look like he's anything more than like right out of the box, which is really tricky. I like to have my figures in mostly a standing upright pose, but it's the subtle body twists, the subtle tilt of the head. It's like no human stands perfectly up and down with their arms directly at their sides. And so if you leave your figure in that pose, it might not look very natural. And I think just having some subtlety to it, you can like what's a good example? The Killmonger there on the left side in the collection. He's got subtly bent arms. That's about as much as I would have been willing to bend the suit on that, because I was worried that I would crease the suit too much over time and it would break. And these are expensive items, right? So we don't want to burst the figure out of their body. I know our buddy, not Riley, but Nick, yeah, or Niche.
He broke his Mando.
I know, he ripped the arm out of it and stuff, right? I mean, like it happens, and so I would never want to say, push your figure because it's yours. But do those subtle twists. Work on the knee bends. Work on the subtle feet positioning. Work on the head tilts. And as I said, just take it real slow. I don't like to watch screen captures of movies. I know people like to do that as well. They'll watch the movie and then try and get some inspiration out of that. I don't think that's a bad idea. I just like trying to come up with something that fits my collection. And I find sometimes I'll do a pose and I'll put it on the shelf, and with the other figures doing their poses, it's like too much, and I actually reduce the pose a little bit to make it look a little bit more museum-esque, like you see here in the picture. So I don't know if that's a great nugget of knowledge necessarily, but take your time, know the limitations, and just try and have some fun with it. But subtlety is the key.
Yeah. You know what I would say is a secret, Ben? Honestly, copying the photos, because you can go on Sideshow and other places that list the blogger photos. You know what I do? A lot of times I look at those and I copy it because I find one that I really like and I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. I can do that. Because you can take movie stills from the film, you can do whatever and just, and make it your own. But like people have said, you risk damage, things like that. And I know we got Iron Logan in the chat, the posing master. Figures are a conduit for your creativity. The question is, how do you want to remember the character you're posing when you look at it? Yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. So, and to me, like I said, I usually find a pose from the original blogger photo, the blogger photos from the release, or the photos of the announcement. And I look at that, I'm like, that's really dope, actually. And I like how they did that. So I'll try to copy that. Or honestly, one thing you can do is just like free ball it. Like you just go through and you're just like mess with the figure a little bit. And you're like, okay, that looks kind of cool. What if I adjust this? And you get creative with it. So you can make it work. But Keco, what do you think? I know you do a lot of posing because you do a lot of photography. What is the secret for posing to you?
You hit it on the head with the subtlety. It's if you're looking even that Harley or whatever, there is not much going on. It's just a simple head nod. And I'm the worst person to ask this because I think a lot of my stuff is really, I wish I was better. I think we all do. But I'm trying to see if there's anything worthwhile there.
There we go.
Not much. But either way, it's the subtleties. It's sometimes just putting a head nod down. And one of the things I noticed for me is that everything we do, and I know someone talked about it in the comments there, and Iron Logan is one of the best posers out there. So, I mean, obviously anything he says goes. And posing with Peter is great, another classic YouTube posing channel. But with us, even right now, none of us are sitting like this. We all go past the 90-degree mark. Right. And I think that needs to be our litmus test for when you're posing something is everyone's like, well, I don't want to push it. Well, at the same time, it is a figure. It is meant to move. And if your figure does have double jointed elbows, people make a big deal about that. And I understand why, because you get to move past the 90-degree mark. when the new clones came out, that was one of the big things, is that they were double jointed elbows. So you didn't have a figure like this. You now had one like this, which was more, realistic, because we move our bodies like that. But one of my favorite things, and I'll shut up after this one, is that when it comes to the posing, is the waist and torso crunch and like twist or whatever, because we pivot like that. And I keep saying we, because they're little miniature versions of humans for the most part. And so it's our torso. And so if you just have something moved and you move the torso a little bit like that, it looks like it's in motion, and the torso allows it to look like it's in motion a little bit. I really like that figure. I really do. And I think people are sleeping on it for real.
They're both amazing.
They're both incredible. So if you are thinking about getting those Batman and Robin thing, but yeah, just look about how simple it is. Just a simple head nod down, the head nod down, and probably the wrist move. That's probably my thing. I'm not good at it, but it's subtlety, 100%.
Yeah, I think subtlety too. And honestly, taking inspiration, that would be the secret to me. Taking inspiration from others and from professional photos. So there are plenty of them out there. And, and I see Nick in the chat, Mr. Nish Collectibles, about breaking his figures. So and he said, you're not posing if you're not breaking your figures. So, yeah, I guess not, bro.
I thought that one came broken. The story's
that's what I heard. That was the story.
You hate to see it.
That was the story. You do hate to see it. So, but yeah, and Keco, like I said, even if you keep the poses simple like this, bro, as long as they fit the character, they work.
Yeah, I know you always talk about the character pose, and I don't have room to do dynamic posing. And I think kind of what Ben was saying is that, sometimes too much makes it look silly. And if you're just going for something simple to make it look alive, they're miniature, almost alive looking people. So make them move a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I do. Honestly, I have a lot of museum character poses like this, Keco, like what you have here. I have a lot of stuff like that. And I know, Ben, it looked like you did too. Because dynamic poses take up a lot of space. They take up a lot of space. Because you're spreading out. Like, even honestly, I have Chromando right now, and I have him with the Darksaber in his hand, and I'm like, the Darksaber's taking up too much room. So it's like,
that's true. It does, because it
extends,
long, man. Yeah,
and it's like, I think I'm gonna put the gun in his hand. I think that's ultimately the pose.
I went with the spear for me.
The spear is dope, bro.
Yeah,
it feels really like not cheap, but like light in your hand. Yeah, but it looks cool.
It looks good. I like it. I'm so glad you got that figure, man.
Yeah, dude, I was getting that thing. That thing's amazing. But yeah, guys, let us know in the chat what you think the secret to posing is, because everyone's gonna have a different approach on it. But we got some really good posers in this community that like Iron Logan in the chat that are doing some really good stuff. So there's a lot of inspiration out there to be found. But when you pose a figure, honestly, it can bring it a whole new life to it. Because sometimes you have a figure and you're like, yeah, this is a pretty good figure because you got into a decent pose. Then you change up the pose slightly and change it to something else. And you're like, damn, this is a really good figure, actually.
Dude, you're so right. I had that experience with my Sideshow Deadpool the other day because I have my two Deadpools side by side now. And I was getting ready to sell the figure. I'd got kind of bored with it. I just was like, maybe I'll just sell it and again, free up the square for somebody else. And I was like, screw it. I got my new light box, so I've been just having fun with taking pictures. And I posed them up in the light box, took a couple pictures, and it was like just like that. Immediately came back to life for me. And it's now back out in my main display room again. Like it was on the cusp of selling, and now it's back in the main display. Like you're right. Just freshening your poses sometimes, even and it's fun. Like I don't know if you guys are the same way. Sometimes I'll just like walk past my display and like look at it. Open the cabinet door, like tilt the head slightly,
for real, yeah.
And then like walk away.
I do it all the time. I think we all
like
do
it.
Because you walk past it, you're like, it's not exactly right, and you change it slightly.
Yeah. And then, and as I said, it was like that stormtrooper pose I was telling you about, Keco. Like, man, that brought that figure back to life for me. I'm loving it. Every time I look at it now, it's like it's capturing my attention. So
yeah,
it's great.
And we got Gina B collecting in the chat. Good to see you, Gina. Nice. Does anybody finally settle? Yeah, I don't, it's hard. It's hard because when you get a pose, like sometimes eventually you do feel confident, and you just feel settled. You feel like, okay, this is a really good pose, and I'm happy with it. I'm content. Content is the word I'm looking for. I walk past it, and I'm like, okay, this pose is dope. I'm content with it. Maybe I'll change it again at some point, but the figure looks alive with how it's posed. So yeah, I think eventually you will settle. You'll settle on it. So That's it, guys. Thank you so much for your thoughts on that one. We got a couple super chats we want to hit real quick. Anthony, good to see you, Anthony, the master of insurance. Anthony
I was gonna
Cafaretta.
say, does he sell insurance?
He does, bro. He doesn't he look like he sells insurance with that outfit, like and that name. And he just looks like he sells insurance. I'm pretty sure he can get you a good deal from what I've heard. Important secret: understand body weight and movement. Anthony, you are very right, bro. Anthony Javier is like what I like to call him. But because middle name is Javier. But yeah, body weight is important, especially if you have the in-art Joker. Because you really should use a crotch grabber.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so
devastating.
Yeah, I know.
Thank God for carpet.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if I told you about that one, Keco. My NR Joker took a tumble, unfortunately, but he's fine. So I would just recommend using a crotch grabber because the figure is amazing, but the base, I'm not crazy about it. Still looks cool though. Ben or Benny, I try to tell a story with my poses. Yeah, bro. I think that's the goal. What do you guys think?
For sure.
100%, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
right. You want to tell a story, something that I don't know, feels alive and feels like it's, it's exciting for your class. So when people walk past it, they're like, oh, I remember that scene when he took the Beskar spear and smacked Moff Gideon with it. Like that's something that you can remember, right? It's good. So
that was the best part of playing with action figures as a kid.
Yeah.
Like using your imagination to like bring a scene to life. Like
these aren't the 3-point articulations anymore. We got some options.
No,
100%.
exactly. It's like your Turbo Man doll. Exactly, bro. Turbo Man. Did you guys
Turbo
have
Man? Bro.
I had one. I actually had one. Did you guys have one?
I never had one.
Never did. No one got me a Turbo Man for Christmas.
Damn. See.
Although I did have the Power Rangers in like the diamond shaped box.
Correct. We were talking about that last week.
A decent amount of
okay.
articulation back then.
They were
for what
very articulated.
Even their fingers, like
They did.
moved and
Yeah,
stuff.
you're right.
Yeah.
I had Sub-Zero, so I can't remember who made him. Maybe it was Hasbro or something like that. It was like a little, maybe like a 1/12 Sub-Zero. So I had a bunch of those. So yeah, pretty dope. Rocketman Chris, the facial expression of the figure should be taken into consideration when considering to go dynamic or static for pose. That is very true. And that is why it's really exciting what Hot Toys is doing right now with giving movable eyes, because now you can take that into your own hands and sort of give them a differing expression depending upon the eye placement. So I love that Hot Toys is doing this. I think this should be the standard moving forward. Don't you guys think?
It's the best posability of my Val Kilmer Batman right now.
Yeah, see, there 100%. You go.
100%.
I think it's great. It gives so much variety. Honestly though, I really, really like when the movable eyes are linked, so they're separate, like they're not individual.
The original purse system.
Right? Because, dude, Keco, with Darth Maul, Jack Sparrow, sometimes it can be a pain in the ass to get the eyes to be exactly natural on both sides. So give me one switch that moves both of them together. That's perfect. Because otherwise it's too much power. It's too much power. I don't like it. It makes me stressed out. It's like, yeah. Because you can't get, because it's like what
then
you guys
your
just
eye
about.
Starts twitching.
Exactly. Because it's just like what you guys just talked about. I got hair in my mouth. As long as it's not a stink bug, then we're good. But basically, like what I was talking about is when you walk past your collection, right? And you see it and you're like, man, something's not exactly right. Like something's off slightly. And usually it's the eyes because you have to move them separately.
The lazy
and
eye.
One's a little bit off. And it's just like, damn, bro, I wish it was just one switch. Like it's too much power. So that's what I would say.
Nobody wants a float away eye. Nobody does.
Yeah, exactly, bro. You don't want that. You don't want that. So, but thank you so much, bro. So we got through that one. Let's ask another question here. I want to hear from the chat on this one too. Which Hot Toys figure frustrated you? I'm going to go first, just give a quick little one. And sometimes I get some flack for this. It's Endgame Battle Damage Thanos. I think I told Keco about this because here's the thing with that one, right? I know Carlos always made fun of me about this because originally I was confused because, sometimes they put the little wrapping paper on the figures and you have to pull them off and you pull them out of their foot pegs and wrist pegs and whatever. Thanos, he had foam under his little gauntlet and I didn't realize you could pop the forearm off. And I was like, I'm trying to get this goddamn foam out from under this gauntlet without popping the forearm off. And I was like, this thing is a nightmare. And I was like, I'm going to break this figure. And then eventually I popped it off and I was like, shit, did I break it? And then no, it was supposed to be popped off. And I figured out you can pull the foam out after that. I was very frustrated about that. So, and then also with Thanos, he doesn't fit on the base really, unless you put his foot up on the rock. And I didn't want to put his foot up on the rock. I wanted to have him standing there naturally, but he had to be up in like a Captain Morgan pose. And I didn't want to do that. So I just didn't, I was like, look, I don't like this base. It looks cool, but I don't like it. But I was frustrated with that figure and I sold it. Keco, I want to ask you, what figure frustrated you from Hot Toys? Because sometimes it's a really, really good figure, but it's a frustrating experience.
I guess you have to decide like what frustrates you, because some people, don't care about anything. Some people, the littlest thing is going to irritate them. I know a lot, like when you talk about pulling the plastic out, a lot of like some of the female characters are very hard to get their plastic out because their bodysuits are so tight. I know there was 2 things about Nebula trying to get her plastic out from around her like neck area because it was so tight wedged in there, and so that was a tough thing. And then her belt gun piece like was almost impossible to, if anybody has Endgame Nebula, everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's almost impossible to get her belt gun or her holster on her belt. It is an absolute nightmare. But I when it goes down to frustrating, I think it's when there's aspects of the figure that are just subpar. And the one that came to mind for me is Clone Wars Darth Maul, because there was so much that could have gone right with that figure. I know people wanted representation from the Clone Wars, all that stuff, and a lot of people didn't have a Darth Maul. They either missed the original Phantom Menace one, maybe they missed the Solo film, but this was an opportunity that they had, and they dropped the ball on a lot of stuff. I thought the head sculpt, which was just a reuse of the Solo one, was weak because that's not what he looks like in Clone Wars. And everyone says, hey, it's an animated version that they're bringing to life. I'm not going to buy that because that's not what he looked like at that age. And it's the same thing. The neck and the body proportions were way off. And they had so much cool potential to do the tattooed body to where you could wear him shirtless. But it's not even the same color as the head. And it's not double jointed elbows. I'm just going on a bitch fest right now about this thing. But for a character that is known for his dynamic posing, you have to have the ability to dynamically pose him, and especially with a lightsaber, and immediately taking away a double jointed elbow and basically locking him up into this position. That's all you got. And that was a shame. And so that, and then, I mean, even the pants were weird, and the Darth Maul is probably the most frustrating to me, just because for a character that's that iconic, in a moment that's iconic, because people want to recreate the Ahsoka scene and all that stuff, and Ahsoka's got her issues too, but I think Darth Maul for me probably takes the cake.
Dude, Keco, swapping the wrist pegs on the Praetorian guards, like, dude, it was.
I was gonna say, like, Hot Toys in general, if like anything with a gauntlet is a motherfucker to try to try to put any type of hand on, and so like, because you have to just. It's like you're rolling up your sleeve and you can't get it up there. And then as soon as you get it on there, you're like, oh, I got it. And then pops right off. You're like, son of a bitch.
It literally happened with me with Chrome Mando yesterday.
Yeah.
And what happened was I took a pair of like pliers, and I panicked for a second because the wrist peg, I couldn't get the hand to change the hand into the wrist peg on the body, right? So I tried to pull out the whole peg, plug it into the hand, then plug it in back into the body. So I was like, all right, let's do that. Fucking snap the wrist peg off. And I
did that with mine too. My very same Mando figure.
Yeah, I was like, God damn it. So then I luckily rolled up the whole sleeve and was able to pull the circular part out, and I got it. And thank God they give you replacement wrist pegs. But I was like, damn. And it's like, I was worried. I was like, I broke this thing already. I'm like Nick. So,
Yeah, someone put it in the chat, and I do agree with this, Iron Man batteries. But that's a bitch too.
Oh, dude. And there are so many good comments. I want to highlight Gina's first. This Chrome Mando is a perfect example. That's goddamn sand base. That thing is like, please stop using it because it looks cool, but damn, I want to put the feet where I want. Like, it makes me want to get a custom base. Like, I'm just going to get a custom Mando base so I can pose him how I want. And that sucks because I don't really want to do that. And Mario, dude, trying to attach that Boba Fett jetpack.
That's a good one too.
That's a really good one. Now it's magnetic, I think, but the previous ones weren't. Where you have to get them in the clips.
That's a good one too. I've broken so many cap shields, like the straps. That's not even funny.
You got to take that one with, dude. Once you have that shield in his hand, leave it. Don't touch it ever again. Like, it's just, that's how I feel honestly. And people will see getting the inart rooted hair Joker head on the body. It's like, leave it. Don't touch it. It's good. Just don't mess with it. Like, that's what I would say. Ben, what about you, bro? What Hot Toys figure frustrated you? Because we got some really good ones in the chat too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like more frustrating experiences than figure specific, because I learned to love most of them after a while. But the First Order Trooper ended up being one that I sold because for the same reason you were talking about the hands. Every time I would try and change the pose on the figure, it didn't matter what pose it was, the hands would pop off. And I was like,
infuriating.
I was like, oh my God, like, it wasn't even, like, I barely touched it. It was driving me so crazy. Having said that, it was still a better posing figure than my Val Kilmer Batman, which that one's been frustrating me only because I got it literally yesterday. I haven't had a lot of much like time to see.
He grows on you though, man. He's so good.
He's beautiful. I love the figure and I love the way it looks. But right now I've basically got him in like up and down museum pose because I don't want to break him yet. So that slightly, but the Iron Man batteries in my Mark 7 head, they popped out so many times with the springs. I ended up asking Shauna for her eyebrow tweezers so I could like hold the battery and like slot the neck, and then it's still through.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh my god! But it worked eventually, which was good.
Not worth it.
And they lived for like 10 minutes, probably.
Oh my god! Mario took one of my good ones, which was the Boba Fett jetpack. When I was doing my posing video on that on the channel at one point, it was like I finally got that sucker hooked on there, and then I like. Dumb me, flipped it kind of onto its back to like then start to twist his arms and just like finish off the pose, and it fell off, and it was like, I felt it was like one of those times where you're like, you know what, maybe I'll just pose it without it. I did break the strap on my Iron Man Endgame cap shield for that very reason. Same thing, trying to get that to buckle in. The little buckles that they've got on the
infuriating.
Like, yeah, it is, bro. It is.
And then my sideshow Deadpool. The only part about it I didn't love was that he comes with so many packets that you hook onto the figure that as soon as you change the figure pose, like 6 packets will fall off. So I ended up removing, I want to say, like, I don't even think it's exaggerating, like 20 packs off this guy's
That's
body.
Like the Toys era cable for real.
Yeah, I just like took him off and left him in the box. I'm like, screw it. I'm done putting these figures on there at this point. So anyways, I would say those for the most part. I think that's it. I think the only other thing that I would say is like my Endgame Thanos and my Venom. I don't love power pose figures because I feel limited by their joint seams and like what will happen to the body if I leave it in like a bent arm pose, right? And so those figures end up kind of feeling like they're standing again very like straight up and down, not doing a whole lot. You get some subtle head tilts and stuff, but that's about it. So I start to get sick of the figures after a little while because I can't change what it looks like enough. So that is mildly frustrating.
You know what also people have not mentioned? Light up lightsaber arms. Like, fuck those things.
I don't do batteries at all.
No, I just don't even do it, bro. Like, Kylo Ren, every time you do it, you got to unzip that little tiny zipper.
Hell no.
You're like,
my
bro.
DX-18 Darth Maul was that way.
Nah, just don't even bother. Like, it's not going to stay lit up that long anyway. That's why I'm glad they're doing the USB lightsaber light up. Hey, it has a wire, but it's better than the alternative. So hopefully one day I'm hoping one day they can figure out something with a small little recharge port where something you can charge the saber and plug it in, and then you can charge it up and then you can put it back in the hilt, and there's a little switch you hit on the saber or something. Like maybe it's underneath and you pop the little piece off and flick the switch on, and then there's a little plug in there. I think something like that'll be rechargeable is going to be way better. I hope that technology evolves to that point at some day.
It wasn't frustrating, but I totally had thought I broke my black suited Superman as well, because when I took him out of the box, I was twisting his ankle, like to get him into a pose, and the ankle peg separated from the leg inside the boot, but the boot like sleeve itself is attached to the figure, so then there's like this like foot dangling in the mesh. You were able to click it back in. Gave myself a heart attack for sure.
Dude, and we got some good ones, Ben and Keco. Like Calvin talked about the Mark V suit up. Keco can speak to that.
I'm sure.
Do not return that though. That is gorgeous. That is a gorgeous one. Put the time in. It's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. I wouldn't do it personally.
I wanted to say an honorable mention though. Fuck the stupid Thor ankles. All Thor ankles. Like none of them support him. Not a single one.
Really? Well, and Mario pointed out, God damn, swapping those Vader hands with the gloves. Fuck
Hell
it.
no.
Like it just no.
I just push it and just hold it there.
Yeah, push it and hold it and make sure it's on there.
Yeah,
like
sure.
it's not going to go all the way on, but it's going to go on enough. Like that's all it is. They've still yet to figure that one out. Basically, the best way from what I've seen is to take the peg out entirely, put it in the glove hand, then try to shove it.
Not worth it. No, thank you.
Yeah, it's just a mess, bro. It's a mess. Yeah, and you talk about never use lightsaber arm. Yeah, don't even bother.
This is a fun topic. We hate hot toys.
And I talked about, I made it a figure topic, but we don't just like sort of, like the technicalities of certain figures. So yeah, Pretty interesting. Well, now we're going to love Hot Toys again because I want to talk about top 3 Hot Toys from the Mandalorian line. We got Mando coming up in about 3 weeks or so. I think it's March 1st, somewhere around there, early March, right? So I want to ask you guys the top 3 figures from the Mandalorian line. I know that Chrome Mando has to be in the conversation, but I want to ask you, Keco, what do you think, bro? If you had to rank the top 3 from the Mandalorian, and this is a deep line. This is a very deep line.
It's very deep now.
You could pick any character, any figure you want. What's your top 3?
Are we taking Chrome Mando out? Because I think most people would probably say that's
Chrome
probably
Mando's got it.
one.
Yeah, he's got it. Chrome Mando's is got to be included. He's in stock now. He's got to be included.
Okay. Well, I think right now, without a doubt, the Chrome Mando is probably the best figure. It's the best representation. You get the most stuff. And I just think it's an absolute gem of a figure. And if you're waiting for season 3, then go ahead and wait then. But if you want the definitive right now, this is the one to get. I think this one's fantastic. I think most people will say this is number 1. Now, I've been saying and this is no particular order, but I think one that people either sleep on or don't understand the complexities of how the engineering went into this. IG-11 is awesome. And the fact that you get the articulated fingers, the magnets in the feet, if you want to ride the speeder bike, the bomb chest that you can swap out, the lights, the feet. It's incredible. It's awesome. And it's a solid figure. It's got presence, like we talked about. I love my IG-11. And I think eventually down the line, people are going to wish they had them because he technically can be a stand-in for IG-88 if you're collecting bounty hunters and you want to get that, because the Sideshow IG-88 is a clown show. I mean, that thing is one of the worst figures of all time ever created. But this one got everything right. The joints are extremely posable. They have those nice rubber gaskets that kind of cover all the joints, and it's fantastic. I love the IG-11. Are we volleying back and forth, or do we want to just knock them all out?
Yeah, knock them all out, bro. Knock them all out. Yeah, and sorry, I was creating a poll, but I have IG-11 as well, so I agree with you. IG-11 is amazing.
So Chrome Mando, IG-11, and then, as you said, the bench is deep for Mandalorian figures. It's very deep. So I think I'm probably going to have to go the Book of Boba Fett. I'm sorry, the Boba Fett 2-pack, just because you get 2 things.
That's a good
and
one.
That's probably one of the best Boba Fetts that you'll get, because I know they called him the bird poop version or whatever, but that is the first appearance of Boba Fett out of the Starlight Pit that we ever saw. We saw him fall into the Starlight Pit, and this is what we got in that moment when he comes around and he's like, "I've been hunting you, Mandalorian," and then when he puts the armor on and he goes through that killing spree, that was the Boba Fett that we've always known. That moment right there, I mean, that is a cool moment. So for me, because of what you get, even if you don't get the Nomad version or don't like it, this is a really cool Boba Fett, because I love the contrast of, he's got his original, like, I guess, beige undersuit contrasted with the black robes. It looks so good. And apparently the stink bug's back.
Yeah, I think it is, but I don't know where I can't fucking tell where it is. So I'm on high alert right now. It's a code red. So, but Ben, what do you think, bro? This Boba Fett, by the way, Keco, it was on sale, the 2-pack on Sideshow yesterday with free shipping, like $371, but I didn't pick it up because I might pick up. I kind of want Bird Poop Boba at some point if I can get him cheap. Like if I can get because I don't need the Robo Boba. I just need the Bird Poop Boba because I love this scenes in particular. But Ben, awesome. If we had to pick top 3 from the Mandalorian line, what are you thinking?
I mean, Keco, it's hard to follow up that, because I mean,
you made me go first. That's
when you hear when you hear the good points too, you're like, that's such a good point, But I will say, like you guys said, the line is deep. Yes. So I really, all 3 Keco said are definitely top 3 for sure, but I don't want to be samesies. So
sorry, man.
All good. I really like the Heavy Mando. I think that thing has some crazy shelf presence in the collection. I love the figure. I like the first version. I think the second version that they're going to come out with is going to still have that presence as well. But I really liked that guy in my collection. What are they called? Sorry, I almost said the Death Trooper, the Dark Trooper.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I really like the Dark Trooper. And I like seeing the evolution of troopers just in general. With the light up eyes and everything, I think it's got some crazy cool presence, and I've seen it in person now. I don't own one yet, but as soon as I saw it, I don't usually double up figures. That was one that I was like, ooh, I could see 2 or 3 as like a small army build in the collection being like real cool. Like that's badass. definitely got some presence and some size to him too, which is really cool, you know. So anyways, and then lastly, I have to say IG-11 was on my list. I finally got IG-11 in my collection, and it was one that initially I wasn't super excited about. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was one that I pre-ordered, I paid off, and then it kind of just it came like the month before Christmas, and I was like, oh right, like this is awesome. Let me open it up and take a better look at it. And it's like one of my favorite figures in like my Star Wars collection now.
Yeah, man.
It is really cool. So yeah, if you've thought about it, don't sleep on it. I think it's absolutely worth it. I think that the Queel and the Blurg is really cool, but I don't think it's like in the top necessarily. I just think it's cool that they're giving us creatures, and seeing a Blurg in the Mandalorian makes me want so many other creatures from the Star Wars universe. So I'm like, if supporting the Blurg is what helps us get there, maybe eventually with some of those others, then I also think that that's pretty special when it comes to the Mandalorian line.
Yeah, I think this is a really special line, honestly. I think that there's a lot of bangers here. Like you guys both said, this is a very deep bench. If I had to pick my 1 through 3, just based on what I've seen and experienced, Chrome Mando would be number 1. He would be number 1. I think, like Keco said, for a lot of people, he would be in the top 1 to 3, right? So IG-11 would certainly be in there. I think there's a lack of love right now for Durasteel Mando.
I see a lot of that in the comments. Yeah,
Durasteel Mando is amazing. That's one of my favorite figures, honestly. Yeah, because I just love, that's my favorite look for Mando, and I'm kind of upset they didn't keep him with that look a little bit longer. I think it would have been something, because honestly, that's a badass, like rugged look, and I think that could have been something.
And if the bench wasn't so deep, I would have put it up there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you just have so many other characters and moments. But yeah, that is definitely a top look for sure. I love that one.
And IG-11, honestly, as much as I love the character, IG-11, when you get that figure in hand, Ben, like you said, it's like a really impressive figure in hand. Fucking stink bug is literally on my camera lens.
Oh my god!
Like we don't see him.
We can't see him. Yeah.
No, you can't. He's
if
on
he
the
makes
outside.
if he makes a cameo, it's gonna
Dude,
be
if he makes
awesome.
a cameo, I'm gonna be like, that's it. No, I think it's a ladybug this time. Why are all these bugs in my house? What the fuck? I don't know. But anyway, IG-11 is certainly an amazing figure. But I know a lot of people are gonna say Bo-Katan. I've not had Bo-Katan. I have not bought her yet, so I can't speak to her. But Keco, you have her. She's pretty great, right?
If the elbows, she is very hard to pose. Like she is stiff in that suit, and she looks good. I love. Here's presence again. That's I guess the word for the week. She looks good, but man, she's hard to pose. Really hard to pose.
Yeah. And Mario's in the chat saying, Ben, you need to support the Blurg because we need it for the Tauntaun. So yeah,
100%, right? Yeah, absolutely. Who else? I saw one here. Oh, Benny says Cosca Reeves. I do think the sculpt on that
could be a good one.
Well, we're also forgetting too. I was thinking about it is Luke Mando Luke. Yeah. So, because we haven't gotten that one yet technically, so we can't throw it in there. But it is technically a Mando figure. So, yeah, and that one's going to be pretty dope.
Well, especially if you get the version with like a half crushed
exactly.
Trooper, like that would be pretty cool.
That looks pretty dope. Cool. I think I have that list on my on my document to get. So I'm planning on picking that figure up, I think. Cuz currently I do not have a Luke Skywalker and I was waiting for that one. So I think I'm probably going to pick that one up. Hopefully they improve the sculpt a little bit, but I guess we'll find out. It was accurate to the show, but I'd make it different, honestly. Like I'd just say make it different. That said, guys, we are done with the Mandalorian line for now. I think we have time for one more question for the evening. And I wanted to ask you guys, I'm going to pull up the Sideshow bestsellers real quick. Because there are, to be fair, not everything on here is Star Wars and Marvel, but obviously those are the two hot IPs for collecting and in the entertainment industry right now, as far as fantasy, action, sci-fi, superhero, whatever. That as far as that goes, Star Wars and Marvel are the dominant two players right now. DC is in there, right? DC's improving. Some DC films do really well, some don't. Just depends on the film. But as far as collecting goes, we don't talk about DC nearly as much as we do Star Wars and Marvel. So I want to ask you guys, are these two IPs going to be the dominant IPs for the foreseeable future? Because this is a pretty hard bar to cross to beat these two. And right now, I think Star Wars, in collectors' minds, is probably a little bit higher than Marvel is. But up until Endgame, it was the opposite. Marvel was a little bit higher. Now it's kind of, they've reversed roles a little bit. But that said, do we see anything else coming in here? DC or, Lord of the Rings or The Boys, maybe something tops that. But what do you think, Keco? Are these going to be the two dominant IPs moving forward? Is it always going to be this way?
I don't know if it'll always be this way, but Star Wars is coming up on being around for 50 years. And
Right.
I mean, you're going to have to do a lot, and Disney would have to shoot themselves in the foot a lot for them not to stay king. I mean, people have collected Star Wars for 40 plus years, and I mean, that's what got me collecting, as I found my figures and things. They just have the juggernaut of being a cultural, global, worldwide phenomenon. Everyone's like, well, Marvel's been around just as long. Marvel has, but not the MCU. And that's what all these things is that people collect are all MCU figures. Now, there's been, Marvel comic book figures, and people have collected Marvel stuff forever as well. But we're talking about, I guess, Hot Toys specifically, or 1/6 figures, I guess, if you're talking about that. So if anything's going to replace it, it's got to be a global phenomenon. And right now, no one's catching Star Wars because of the track record and the length, the tenure that they've built up. Right now, I don't know what could move it to even knock Marvel off. Star Wars isn't going anywhere. I don't know what could knock Marvel off, mainly because Game of Thrones had a potential, but then it shit the bed. And it's also, it's been around for 30 plus years because of the books and things, but the cultural phenomenon was around the TV show. And so I think it rubbed people the wrong way. So those IPs are never going to supplant it. As of right now, no, nothing's going to change for the foreseeable future. And even with DC, I don't think DC is coming anytime soon because we're still a long way away from seeing what that pipeline is going to actually materialize to be. So, no, DC's not knocking them off either. So, in short, will Star Wars always be the most desired IPs for collectors? For now, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to project anyone topping those two. Because like you said, there are individual properties that do really well, like, Game of Thrones or Walking Dead or The Boys or whatever else, right? But at the end of the day, they're not quite reaching the heights that you can see the ladybug crawling across my lens, by the way. They're not quite reaching the heights as these two universes, right? So Ben, I want to ask you the same question. Are these going to be the two most desired IPs moving forward? Because I don't know, it's really hard to project anyone topping these two.
I think moving forward is hard to know because it depends on the relevance of the movies and the films that we get a chance to see kind of going forward. Star Wars started to take a pretty serious dip there for a long time. People were selling their Star Wars figures because they were kind of just done with it, right? And I agree with Keco. It has been around for 50 years. I mean, Star Wars toys have been around forever, and that is how a lot of collector community got started. But then the content wasn't there and people started to lose interest, and that's when they start looking for other things to collect, right? And it wasn't really in a lot of ways until Mandalorian started coming really popular that people really started to pay attention again. And the younger generation of folks, like the guys like me who are in their mid 30s, like I'll always collect Star Wars because I love it, and I always have. But the younger folks who were maybe 10 years old 10 years ago when it was kind of in that dip period, now they're in their 20s, maybe they've got their first job now they can afford a collectible. If there's no relevance to the franchise that they're producing, or that there's no attachment to those, I don't know how it can necessarily stay desirable for people and collectors, because you'll always move on then to what becomes more excited. It also depends on I think where in the world these collectibles come from, right? I mean, I think Iron Man for a long time is going to be very popular in Asian countries because they really like mechanical suits. Those folks they love Iron Man, right? Like that's why we see so many Iron Man all the time. It's a huge driving contributor to the profit of the hot toys business. And Star Wars in North America has always been such a huge contributor for why we buy so much from hot toys as well. And so it depends on the market you're trying to sell to. I talk a lot about Star Trek figures on my channel because even the Star Trek community is bigger than most people give it credit for. I also collected Star Trek toys as a kid, the Playmates versions back in the day. Now a company like X06 is making 6-scale Star Trek figures. And they're hit and miss for a lot of people. I totally get that. Even for me, they're not all perfect. There's some bangers and there's some not so great ones so far. But the amount of people who have reached out to me who are Star Trek fans and collectors, who to them that is relevant, that is their relevance. Maybe they're Star Wars fans as well, maybe they're Disney fans as well, it doesn't matter. They've been hoping for a Star Trek franchise or company to finally make a figure, and now that they're buying them all, right? And so I think it depends on those factors for sure. It also depends on the company that's making these collectibles for us. So my example in my brain for that is the Lord of the Rings figures. I wasn't really interested in Lord of the Rings with Asmus. I didn't love the likeness. Not to knock the Asmus figures, they just weren't something that I felt like I needed in my collection necessarily. And then we get InArt making this Aragorn, and it was like I was like blown away by how good that figure looked. It made me have to go back and watch the movie again, because I was like, okay, do I need this in my collection? Let me go see if I got that little nostalgic, nug in the pants to get it, right? So I think it'll depend again on the relevance, how good the content is coming forward. I have high hopes, cross fingers, for DC. Batman has always been one of my favorite characters of all time. I love DC Comics. DC notoriously in the comics reboots itself all the freaking time. So the fact that James Gunn now gets a chance to reboot or subtly reboot, I get it that there's some burned asses on that, but at the same time, I'm kind of hoping that it's like the best thing ever for DC, and in 15 years from now, just
it can't be worse.
Well, it can't get worse. And you think Marvel really kicked off in 2008? That's 15 years of Marvel, right? If you're a 20-year-old, you're only 5 when Iron Man came out, right?
That's wild to me.
If you give the new James Gunn DC universe 15 years, they may still end up being the most relevant at that point. But for now, yeah, Star Wars and Marvel, they're the most accessible. They have some of the best produced toys and figures and statues and all of the things that are in existence. So people are going to keep buying them until something else knocks it out of the running.
Yeah, it's true, bro. And we actually got a really good comment from a channel member, Dinesh here. Anime stuff will be the future. Queen and Prime One are doing a lot more in the future. Yeah, it could be. It could be, because a lot of these companies are based in Asia, and there seems to be there's a pretty big market in the States and other places too for anime too. But I know it's pretty big over in Asia, so that could be something moving forward. Maybe Hot Toys does some of that. Hot Toys is going to follow the money, so they're going to go where the money goes. And right now it's Star Wars and Marvel. So, but if anime starts reaching those heights, maybe it could. I don't know if there's been anime yet, though. At least
you need to have something that's a global sensation,
right? Right.
And that's what Star Wars and Marvel to a degree captured.
Right. Exactly. And I've always heard Keco Star Wars isn't as big in Asia, but that's always what I've heard, but I don't know for sure. But I don't know. Interesting. I'm with you guys, though. I think that it's going to be hard to top those two, but I guess we'll see. We got some good comments, though. I know
some of the comments have been fire today.
Yeah, I know, right? We got some really, really good comments. And then we got Collecting Madness saying Star Wars is timeless, passed from generation to generation. It is, absolutely. We also got a super chat. Benno Benny, thanks so much, bro. Very generous, Benno Benny. Star Wars and Marvel have great character designs. That's actually really true. So when it comes to collecting specifically, you have those amazing character designs, and you can build that universe because there's so many good options. I think that's a large part of it. Because we talked about the topic of 1/6 scale collecting, and how sometimes maybe a small amount of figures don't have a ton of presence, but when you have like 20, 30, 40, 50 plus 300 figures, it can be really cool looking. And when you have a sort of universe, it makes it look pretty cohesive and alive. So that's pretty cool. So, and they have great character. I know you guys agree. They have great character designs. So, as is DC for that matter. King Shark is a pretty cool character design.
100%.
So. Yeah. So anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it there. I know everyone's got stuff to do this Friday evening. So I want to thank you to this Avengers level panel for joining me. And thank you all in the chat for joining and contributing your amazing thoughts. Mr. Ben Thomas, I want to start with you. Thank you so much for making it here, bro. I know you had to go through a journey to get here. So thanks.
High water.
I'm glad I finally made it, man.
Yeah.
3 weeks, if you don't make it in 3 weeks, what if you never get the invite again? You know what I mean? I was gonna run home if I had to, if it meant it, So yeah, no, thank you for having me, Keco. Always a pleasure to chat with you. Next time you have to let me go first, because the banger points coming out of this guy
that
today
is
was
true. I got the starting gate.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
it's
right.
all good. That's all good. It was all really good chat. Really good chat. I've got some exciting news. I am literally 10 subscribers away from 1,000 on the Ben Thomas Show. Literally 10. And
let's do it, boys and girls.
If any of you guys haven't checked out the channel, definitely do so. I think I'm over 140 videos on there now. I have a lot of fun chatting Star Trek figures, reviews, shorts, all of the good stuff. And then if you like my takes, every Tuesday night I'm on with the boys over at Collecting Weekly on their live main show. So definitely head over there and check them out on Tuesday nights as well. It's always a good time with those guys.
Guys. Sure. And Ben, I'm going to post your link in the chat because I really want people to go and sub to your channel. Guys, we got to get Ben to 1,000. We got to get Ben to 1,000. So close, guys. We got to get him there. So, Ben, thank you so much for joining, bro. Hopefully you hit 1,000 and get that monetization anytime now, bro.
Cool.
It'll be really exciting. And yeah, guys, let's help get Ben to 1,000. He deserves it. The man puts out fire content and has an amazing display back there. So.
And this is my backup display, just so everybody watching knows. Like this is like very temporary. I just set up this YouTube streaming studio, so I didn't have to do it on a cardboard box in my living room anymore. And so
that is dedication.
This is my
$9.95, Ben.
This is my old. Oh wow! Thank you.
Come on, guys, keep pumping those numbers. Let's get him to 1,000 before this stream ends. Let's get him to 1,000.
Everybody.
Come on, guys. I'll post the link again for you guys, just so you have it.
And I'll rock an updated collection tour here soon because it's changed quite a lot since my 2022 one for sure.
Nice, so. Absolutely. Well, guys, please subscribe to Ben Thomas Show. He's so close to 1,000. Let's get him to that threshold. And Mr. Sir Keco, thank you so much for joining, bro. Is there something exciting coming up on your channel? Because I know the videos you do, fire, absolute fire.
When we actually do videos, they are. As I said,
you need to do live streams. I told you.
I do live streams here, so
I know, but I would join you. You know, join.
That's true, but I need to be forced to do one because once Hot Toys releases something, I'll go and possibly do another photo in reel. I've just been really busy with work and stuff. I don't know if you saw, but I was up at 3:30 this morning grinding, doing things. It's been a long week for me. I'm not making excuses by any means, but I literally was typing out my points for the next video. So the next video will be coming soon. I keep saying, I think I've said that for about 3 weeks now, but yeah, I still have stuff coming on the YouTube and the IG. There's my handle. You'll get something. In the meantime, feel free to watch my latest collection tour, which I think we hit 50,000 on.
Dude,
that now.
It's a lot. It's like 45 to 50,000.
Yeah, that like makes zero sense to me. Like,
yeah, that one has absolutely killed it, bro. I think collection tours, I mean, aside from Justin's, like most of them don't reach those heights. Like they might reach 10, 15.
Like, yeah, most of mine collection tours do well, but like my best collection tour video, I think was 28,000 over the span of like 18 months. But I got that in like 3 weeks, which like it didn't make any sense to me. I was like, fine, I'll just ride this for a little while. And I'm like, I guess I don't need to make another video ever. You know, this is perfect. But yeah, I do want to talk about the ups and downs of collecting. That's the video I'm putting out, and I just haven't got to it yet. But
well, we got to get Keco, because Keco, you got 5,000, a little over 5,000. We got to get Keco to 6,000. We're gonna get
that is my next goal.
By the end of this stream. It's like, no, I'm just kidding.
By the end of this stream. We're staying on until it's over.
We're staying on until Keco hits 6,000.
Yeah, 44,000. Yeah, this will just be like one of those streams like, so I'm looking for another subscriber. Yeah, we got one. There
exactly.
Congratulations.
We got one. I'm going to put Keco's link in the chat, guys. But we're going to get Keco to 6,000 by the end of this stream. So, no, but Ben, you hit 1,000.
You hit it.
Let's go.
Let's go. You get the applause symbol, Ben. You get the applause. I got to pull up Ben's again. Now it just tells me 1K, so I don't know exactly, but he's over 1K. So
thank you, everybody. I appreciate. I hope everybody likes the content too. That's the thing. I don't just like asking for subs. I don't like asking for subs. It's like I want to try and give quality content that people actually like can watch and enjoy. So gonna keep putting it out for sure. So but thank you, Will, obviously, for giving me the platform to chat on, and thanks for everybody that clicked it. That's amazing.
I just got some motivation today from you coming from a burning car to come to the to the stream. I mean, that motivated me to say, you know what, put the damn video out, Keco, because if this man is coming from a burning car to this stream, you can put out a damn video. So thanks, man. After I play Hogwarts Legacy, of course.
Yeah, of course. Not a sponsor, but
no, of course not.
I've heard it's pretty good, Keco. I've heard, but it's one of my friends at work told me it's gotten mixed reviews. And I was like,
the people that don't like it are mad because you can't use the death spells on students. I'm like, of course not. That's why. And then all the PC folk are like, just wait till we get our mods going. We're gonna fix that. I was like,
Jesus,
man, come on now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining. There'll be more content coming up on this channel. Of course, we got the live stream every Sunday, Collectors Mingle. I'm going to do a Chrome Mando review. I'm like Keco, though. Dude, it's kind of Keco. You and Ben both. I got to tell you guys, the Chrome Mando, I've gotten it and I've unboxed it. I'm like, man, but I got to film it and I got to shoot this and that. And it kind of ruins it. I'm like,
cool.
I'm like, I just want to unbox it and set it up, but it's, I got to review it and stuff. So I did unbox it though and set it up. I showed a couple quick shots of what the boxing contents look like. I'm like, cool. Now I'm gonna post this bitch. So I was messing with it. So
I like that off the cup review that you sent, that 13-second little review that you sent me.
Which one?
Like, you're like,
oh,
yeah. I was like, nice.
I was like 10 out of 10.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. I saw
Yeah, exactly. So, but guys, thank you so much. There'll be more content coming on this channel. And like I said, there'll be clips and everything else. And check out these guys' wonderful channels. And yeah, be pretty exciting. That said, enjoy Last of Us tonight. It's on at 9 p.m. So give it a watch. Super Bowl this Sunday. Hopefully you get to watch Keco. I'm so sorry about the Bengals.
I will not be watching.
Next year, bro. Next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
if it's in the script.
I knew you were on vacation, bro, and I was like, Kiko's going to be hurt about this. So, it's all good. But guys, thank you so much. Peace out. We'll see you in the next one. Bye. Enjoy Last of Us. Bye.